commercial buildings, in most instances, aren't the ones paying the energy bills.
Is it harder for me as a builder to put those sort of energy efficient standards in place?
Well, you don't put the standards in place. You put the measures in place. It's actually easier to do it in new construction and much more cost effective. The question is there an incentive for you to do it? Right now there's a commercial building incentive that the Congress has put in place that'll end at the end of this year, and there were incentives for taxpayers that ended last year. And we're trying to get those reinstated through the Congress because that's a way to deal with it, and that's listed on this. We see 4 policy tools that are needed. You got to have research and development, so you continue into the pipeline new technologies that are more efficient. Secondly, you need to set standards, and you've discussed this already, on appliances, on vehicles, which we just did in the December bill as well. Then you need incentives to give them a toehold in the market. Often new technology, more efficient technology, comes with a price premium. And to overcome that, you can deal with that through tax incentives, through rebates, through utilities, a number of different ways. And finally, public education. People have to understand that if they pay 25 cents for a light bulb, an incandescent bulb, and $2 for a compact fluorescent light bulb, it's really a better investment to get the $2 bulb because it only uses about 1/3 of the energy and it lasts 10 times as long. People don't know that without the education and outreach. The 4 policy tools, this slide's a little bit off, that I just discussed, many of those were included in both the energy bill that we put in place in December 2005 and then in a bigger way in the energy bill in 2007. And this shows you that through a combination of incentives and standards and authorities for research and development programs, we actually are looking at a very significant impact through energy efficiency on energy use. Electricity demand down by 5% from forecasts by the year 2030, energy use overall down 7%, and CO2 down 9%. And again, that becomes very important. That's the equivalent of what South Korea, which is the 9th largest emitter in the world, puts out every year. So this is very big. One of the things we left out that I just mentioned was the tax incentives, though, and we really need to come back and focus on that. So this just gives the viewers a list of what's in and what's out, Jackie, in very broad detail. More information is available on our website. I won't go into this again other than to say that this shows that policy tools will have an impact, and this is in many respects, it's a much easier way to tackle both climate and growth in energy demand than some of the other policy options that are out there, and it's also very cost effective. It's going to return to the economy. I want to move for a minute because one of the things that you all asked me to talk about was what's going on in businesses and how are they approaching energy efficiency. One of the things that is out there that I want to point people to is a very new, not very new, it's a couple years old, but a very innovative program that's actually underway by the Department of Energy, and it's called the Save Energy Now program. It has as its goal reducing energy use in the industrial sector, in the manufacturing sector, 25% within 10 years. Now, that's a goal that many individual companies have taken on with respect to lowering their energy intensity. So the government wants to do this through the whole industrial sector. They are going and doing energy audits, and we'll talk about this. They've done over 500 energy audits of various plants around the country already, and they are making recommendations for cost-effective investments in energy efficiency, both technologies and practices. The potential savings they're finding on average in a facility is about $2.5 million, which is about 8% of the average energy cost in those facilities. I've put up here a number that people can call, and there's also a website at Save Energy Now that people can go to.
Are you finding that manufacturing and industries are open to government getting involved and sort of giving them an assessment or an idea of what they're doing, or do you find that there's a little bit of resistance?
Well, it's interesting. We'll take a look at that because I think that the folks at DOE did find some resistance at first from people who were already doing a lot, and I'm going to show you Dow Chemical. But what's happened is that even though the companies believe and they are getting more efficient, when they have outsider help come in, they're finding other ways that they perhaps hadn't thought about. So I'm going to actually show you. It's a perfect question because I'm going to show you a Dow facility, and even after they had met and exceeded their goals for energy intensity improvement. DOE came in, found more savings for them. So I think that as the cost of energy gets higher, people are more receptive to help from any quarter, even Uncle Sam. So if you could see here on the results, these numbers are going up. I checked the website today, and it's really 543 assessments have now been done. And these are all sizes, shapes of companies, Jackie. We've got the Air Products and Chemicals. I mentioned Dow. There have been 3 Chrysler plants. There are 13 Chrysler plants, excuse me. 3M has had an audit. So it's across the board, and people are finding these savings. And you can see here the savings that are noted, but nearly $112 million in energy efficiency just in the 2.5 years since the program took place have been saved. So it's really a very good and very smart program. And again, to your question, the Dow Chemical Company, who had already met sustainability goals that they put in and exceeded in 1995, the federal government came into one of their facilities and did a look at what could be done, and for a project cost of $225,000 in one of their petrochemical plants, they actually are getting a return of $1.9 million annually in savings. So when you quantify potential energy savings, particularly with that outside expert advice, you can really get some good savings. This just goes back and looks at what Dow Chemical Company had done, because I want to show you that once people discover energy efficiency, they find that it's the gift that keeps giving. Dow Chemical exceeded its goals for improving energy intensity that they set between 1995 and 2005. They set a goal of 20%. They exceeded it. So they came back, and their new sustainability goals for 2015 increased that to 25% improvement in energy efficiency. They're saving more than $4 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars in avoided energy costs now, and they believe that they will do even better into the future. Another example is Walmart. There's been a lot of talk about what Walmart's done, and I wanted to raise them as an example because not only are they working internally to improve the energy use in their stores through things like daylighting, through new products that they're putting in lighting and that sort of thing, they're also reaching out, and they have incredible reach. They use 1% of the electricity in the United States. They have vendors literally all over the world, and they are teaching their vendors, their product suppliers, how to be more efficient. So this is a great example. These are their sustainability goals. This is a very busy slide that I won't go through, other than to say that Walmart really got into the business by their own admission because Sam Walton was tight and was looking for ways to cut corners, lower costs, make more money. And that's how they came at it. That's why they started with energy efficiency, and that has blossomed into a full sustainability portfolio, and they are doing worlds of good around the world in terms of energy efficiency and greening their products.
You talked a little bit earlier, and I just want to take a step back because we have some questions coming in about this, about split incentives,
right,
and how the people building buildings or homes or whatever it is are not necessarily the people paying the bills.
Right.
We have a question from HC. How is the government, specifically Congress, going to deal with the issue of split incentives? Are there, in fact, programs, bills in the pipeline that would address this problem?
Right. One of the things that was left out of the energy bill that came back in the Lieberman-Warner and that we're working at is with respect to building codes. There are national bodies, committees that set model building codes in the United States, and one of those code-setting bodies, which is ASHRAE, and I won't go into what that means, they have set an aspirational goal of improving the energy efficiency code for commercial buildings by 30% by the year 2010 and 50% by 2020. We are trying to get that codified into law, that goal. We're not going to change the process or the setup. A lot of people are afraid of that, but we want to see these very significant gains in energy efficiency, which have been proven to be cost-effective and technically feasible. So that is one way that we're addressing it. We're not just doing it at the federal level because states adopt codes and they're enforced locally. So we're working at all those levels of government and with the national code-setting bodies. The other is appliance standards. We're continuing to look at where we can get improvements, cost-effective energy use improvements in appliances. And I mentioned we did light bulbs in the last bill, but there were a series of other clothes washers, dishwashers, other appliances the efficiency codes were improved on, and we'll continue to look at that.
As we talk about government getting involved or being involved, we do talk about the polarization and the politicization of the process. And a question from Spring Herricks that says, speaking of policy, how do we solve this problem of politicization